Yeah, I think one of the things that a lot of carers find difficult is to accept that their person has a serious mental illness. Now, that's not to say that if you're given a diagnosis that your relative has a mental illness, that they won't recover and get better. But we need to understand the word recover. Recover doesn't mean cure. And people with these illnesses have to learn things, and they also have to learn to take responsibilities and be responsible. But in their very confused state, it's very, very difficult for them and us as their family member or carers to have expectations that they can, after the medication has brought them to a point where their symptoms have they've lessened, they're able a little bit to understand what's happened to them, but they can't get motivated, they can't do things the way they used to do them. Maybe you may be the relative or the mother of a young man who is doing medicine, and I met a lady many years ago, her son was brilliant in his faculty doing medicine. In his last year he was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he just absolutely could do nothing. And this was many, many years ago when medications were quite crude. But she was totally devastated. She could never ever accept that her son had a serious mental illness. She kept going on and on and on that the doctors weren't telling her the truth, or they didn't understand him. There were a whole lot of issues. But as the years went by, I really learned that when you accept that your person has a serious illness, not schizophrenia, you cooperate and work with the doctors, you try to encourage them, but then you yourself, having accepted that this is a serious illness, you then work with your person. How can you help them? Of course they stay in bed for long lengths of time, they can't make decisions. And I noticed when I was asking my boy to go down to the milk bar to buy his cigarettes, or he wanted to go and buy his cigarettes, I would say to him, can you get a litre of milk at the same time? He couldn't do it. He would only get his cigarettes. Well, at first I got a bit angry and I kept saying, all he's thinking about is himself and his cigarettes. And he'd come back and I'd say, where's the milk? And he said, oh, Mum, I didn't think about the milk. And that then triggered in me, and I did speak to some professionals in my working role as a carer consultant about this issue. And they said it's not that they're forgetting, it's that there's so much chaos going on in their head that they can't think things through like you and I who don't have the illness. So it was then I started a program whereby I wanted to teach him responsibility. And the first thing I chose was that he be responsible for collecting the letters from the post box. Now, these days, the post box doesn't have a whistle, but they're on motorbikes. So I did say to my son, look, I want you to be responsible for the letterbox. Oh, good, Mum, he said. I said, you hear the motorbike. When you hear the motorbike coming, you go out and bring the letters in. Good, Mum, I'll do that. Now, 1 day, 2 days, on the 3rd day, his dad came in and said, well, Kelly, I don't know what your lessons are, but the letters are on the grass and they're wet and there's the birds have been pecking on them and I'm going to get them myself. And I said, no. Now, what you have to do, I said, when we're having dinner, the 3 of us together, you're to use humour. And I can honestly say to you that humour is the greatest medicine. And thankfully my husband was a witty person, few words but witty. And I said, use a little bit of humour when we're having tea tonight. So we'd eaten our tea and he said, you know what has happened, Mum? Outside the letterbox there's a whole lot of paper and the letters, the birds been all over it. And as he was saying all these things and describing the paper in a humorous way, our son looked at him and said, "Dad, the letters, I forgot all about them." And Dad said, "That's okay, son, don't worry about it. Make sure you get them tonight." And he went out and collected them. And it's now more than 15 years ago that that incident happened. And every day he hears the motorbike, he collects the letters and brings them in. He never ever misses a day. So the learning from that was anger doesn't give any solutions. Doing it for the person who's ill isn't the solution. Using humour and encouragement is the answer. And from that, I learned that I teach him other things, but doing them very, very slowly and very carefully.